just like that day. I am afraid to smile. No, it's not a malicious smile, like a cold smile or a sneer. It is not a mean smile that reveals an ulterior motive. It is a smile itself, or rather, a more fundamental and pure smile. Isn't it well understood? Yes, it is. No matter how good a psychiatrist is, he or she can't read people's minds. Besides, I know that even if I get well, I will suffer for a long time. Because I can't forget. Yes, because I made a promise. Oh, sorry. I'm really grateful to the doctor. He found me when I ran out of my house and was half crazy, and he managed to get me admitted to this hospital until I was in a state where I could speak properly. When they first brought me in and examined my condition, they said, worst case scenario, I may not make it back. Thank you so much. Really? Well, I guess I'm getting off track. What can I say? Have you ever heard the theory that a smile is essentially an aggressive expression? That the human smile is a remnant of the expression we used to have when we were apes, when we used to bare our gums to intimidate others. That such aggression, out of reason, is the origin and essence of the smile. Oh, I thought this was a hoax. But what I am about to share with you is an experience of mine that makes you want to believe in such a theory. It is my experience that makes you want to believe it. It started with a dream. In the dream, I am standing alone in an empty white space. Or, to be more precise, there is nothing, but there is a shimmering or wave-like pattern throughout the space. I can't describe it well, but it's like a geometric pattern, or like the view you see when you look through a kaleidoscope, blurred in black and white. It's the kind of pattern that makes you feel as if your body is about to lose its equilibrium. It is a quiet space where nothing happens and no sound is heard. But, it was a space that made me feel uneasy just being there because I didn't want to be there. And as I'm looking around, wondering what's going on in such a space, before I know it, I realize that there is a girl standing there, looking at me. The girl was wearing the uniform of the junior high school I attended, but I couldn't see her face because it was black, as if it had been painted over with something. I couldn't make out his face, and from the overall vibe I didn't recognize the kid. When the girl noticed me, she would incessantly say, like that day. Over and over. That's all he would say. I didn't recognize her voice either. He seems to say something after like that day, but as soon as he gets to that part, his voice gets muffled and I can't hear him anymore. The repeated voice would reverberate in my head, making me jump out of bed in the middle of the night in agony. The girl came closer and closer with each passing day, and the voice like that day, became louder and clearer. But the part after that was still inaudible. I started having such dreams all of a sudden and every day. After I had the dreams, I became trapped in a sort of obsessive-compulsive mindset. I had to do something. But, I didn't know what it was at the time. I didn't know why I started dreaming or what I had to do. So it was just a scary and depressing dream to me. When things were settling down and I was finally able to enjoy a happy life living alone, why should I be the only one going through this? I was going crazy with fear and frustration. I appealed to the being in my dreams and my mind. When was that day? Why are you telling me this? Did I do something to you? Or did you do something to me? You're wearing the same uniform as my middle school, but I don't recognize you from. I don't recognize you. Yes, I do. I remembered. This girl, I think, was in the same class with me in junior high school. She was the girl I bullied and ended up taking her own life. When I was in junior high school, I was a bully. No, it was not an act that could be put away with such words. I punched, kicked, and cut myself with a knife when no one was looking. Sometimes I intentionally made an example of myself so that no one in the class would tell on me. I spread false rumors to isolate myself from the class. I threatened them with a lot of weakness so that they would not talk to anyone about it, and so that they would be fooled if they asked me anything. We also harassed her in many other ways, big and small. They denied her everything and abused her. She finally couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. Jumped out of a classroom window. She fell headlong and her face was so mangled that it was impossible to tell who she was. What I did was murder, albeit indirectly. However, because everyone in the class was unable to say that the perpetrator was me, the whole thing was covered up by the uproar after she took her life and the word bullying, and in the end, it all became a done deal. I was trying to put a lid on my memories and pretend it never happened. I thought that I had destroyed one person's life and now I was living in comfort. I thought she was angry and hated me for that. I thought that her expression in the dream was also filled with these feelings, though I could not see it because it was painted over. I thought that that day must have been the day I abused her, or the day she jumped to her death. I also wondered how I was. The dream reminded me that I had abused her in junior high school. But I can't remember the motive or how I was feeling at the time, as if it slipped away, even after the dream. I tried to picture the scene when I was abusing her, a slightly dusty after-school classroom with the evening light shining through the window. The classroom empty besides me and her, long after the last class had ended. A dimly lit classroom with the lights off and the door closed. The voices of students engaged in club activities and the bustle of the city can be heard gently coming from outside. There are empty desks, papers crammed and a mess, and textbooks meticulously placed on the floor. A half-erased blackboard. She is crouched in the left corner by the podium. I am looking down at her, tormenting her. For a memory that had been buried until then, I could reproduce it in my mind's eye in vivid detail. However, I could not see my face there, as if it had been painted over, just like her face in the dream. Why was I abusing her? What was on my mind and with what expression? Was it because I just didn't like it? Was it because she had done something to me first and this was my revenge? Or was I unreasonably taking out my irritation or envy towards something else on her? And there was another thing that didn't add up. Assuming that those days are the days I was abusing her, what does she mean by like those days? What does she say in the part of the dream that I cannot hear? Maybe there is an answer to that part of my memory that I can't yet recall. But when I think of that, I instantly get scared. I think that the reason I can't remember that one thing while everything else I could remember is because there is something I shouldn't know. It's a terrible thing to know because it's an act that I have erased from my memory. But I can't help but be curious about it, and I am drawn to it, ignoring the feeling of dread. I was slowly being consumed by such dim, clinging, ivy-twined fear. The day came about a month after I started dreaming. Yes, that was the day I went crazy and came here. The night before that, the dream voices were stirring me even louder. I was in so much pain that I felt like my head was going to crack. No matter what I did to cover my ears in the dream, the voices did not stop, but rather grew even thicker and louder. I finally decided it was no use, and in the dream I desperately apologized to her. I was sorry. It was all my fault. Moreover, I forgot. Please forgive me. I will remember everything. I will never, ever forget you. I promise. Please, wake me up. Before I knew it, it was morning. It was morning, as if nothing had happened from the beginning. I was still too scared to open my eyes, but I knew it was morning by the sunlight I could feel through my eyelids and the chirping of birds. The voices that had been reverberating in my head for so long were now as still as lies. I guess it's over. Once again, I had done a terrible thing. It should not be put away with that one word. Of course, I don't think she's forgiven. But she is no longer alive and will not return. Then, let's at least live happily with the life we have sacrificed for her. Let's live with the sins we can no longer atone for. Let's remember her and live. Yes, I thought. I opened my eyes. Our eyes met. A face I had never seen before was looking down at me. She should have hated me so much for mistreating her in the most vicious way, sending her to her death, and then forgetting about it after escaping from her unforgivable crime. It was a horrifying, unadulterated smile. It was a wide-eyed smile. And then, with a smile that seemed to stick to her face, she moved her mouth and said the words that I never got the last of in the dream, just like that day. Just like that day. Smile. Smile, smile, kill me. I am afraid to smile. This concludes this story. Thank you for listening to the end.